Okay, everybody, so this is my spoiler review of Halo Episode 2, Unbound. This is again directed by Otto Bathurst and written by Kyle Killen and Stephen Kane. What I like this episode did was opening up in the flashback 22 years ago at the base where these Spartans were training, and to see Soren and John, how long they've known each other, but also setting up for some of the good scenes with them together in the present day later on that will get payoff already in this episode about what was really going on here, and that it's interesting that Soren was the one who was kind of awake to everything that was going on with Dr. Halsey early, and that John was already kind of too far gone in a sense morally, but he did still have a lot of himself back then, letting Soren go for 5 minutes like they talk about. But it's interesting, even in the opening of the show, we see that scar in the back of John's back, and you think that it goes back to what they're talking about later in the episode about the pellets, and this was made to make him focus, and you realize that as we go on, we're going to learn more and more messed up stuff Halsey's probably installed in him to make him this super Spartan. He is the Master Chief, right? So I like that Soren's this character that is someone who was a rebel and got a way out of it, and he's kind of a way out for John here in this show. So in the present day, though, we actually open up on Planet Reach again, and it looks amazing, and this is where it came out that they used $10 million per episode for the show, and this is where it looks really good. But in this scene, we see Halsey talking to his commander, and what this episode is doing with Halsey's character is setting up her big play here with Cortana. I like that they're easing into Cortana here, especially the excitement that comes with that character, but also that's the same actress playing Cortana. And a fun fact, though, is the actress of Halsey was supposed to be Cortana, and then they had her move over to play Dr. Halsey, which I think actually works out better to be able to bring back the Cortana original actress. But you see, this is setting up that the commander's like, how can we trust this superhuman now that he's not working the way we thought? And she's like, I have the insurance plan, which we'll see it through the episode is Cortana. Now, when Kwan and Master Chief are on their way to Rubble, I did like what they were doing with the sound design here. I thought it was pretty cool, them going through all the craters, and that when they would come outside of the ship, it would change in sound and feel like you're in space, but then when you're in the ship. So there is a lot of effort being put to each shot in this show, which is always a good sign. And when Master Chief makes his grand entrance in the Rubble, I actually really like this. I like it almost was like exaggerated footsteps when he comes in, but I think that works here. And I like that they're really emphasizing how powerful a guy this is and everyone's reaction to him. So that really actually works for me. Now, what makes me thrilled is that in present day, Soren is played by Bokeem Woodbine, who I loved in Fargo Season 2. If you haven't seen that, check it out because he is amazing in it. But you see, he's informing John that the Rubble is a place of no law, no police, absolute freedom. This totally sums up Soren as a person. And it's pretty cool when they go deeper into the Rubble and it's like this zip line they go on. It feels like a roller coaster almost, so it again just looks really good. But what stuns John is that he has a child here, which wasn't supposed to be a thing for them, that they could be able to do that. And we meet his wife, Liara. Now, they still keep things interesting with Kwan here because pretty much everyone wants her, right? There's a bounty on her head. You got Vinsher, who literally take over her father's city and wants her killed. And you also have UNSC, who also wants her killed. So she's just a wanted woman, which adds to suspense here for her story. She's not just there, breathing air. And then when we go back to High Charity, right? These prophets look incredible. I mean, this is like movie Star Wars level quality. Really, really looks awesome for a show. But the Blessed One here learns that the Master Chief can do what she can do with the relic. And I have my theories now already about the Blessed One because her being cut between the Master Chief at the end of the episode makes me think, especially they're showing scars on her like he has, there's a connection there. And that she is so persistent to the prophets that she wants to go take care of this herself, that maybe she is kind of playing both sides here. So I'm interested to see what her endgame is, but there's got to be obviously a deeper connection with her to Master Chief, especially if they have that same power. And I actually love the color scheme they use with the prophets here, that the red, green, and blue actually reminded me of the Zelda Ocarina of Time game with the ruby, sapphire, and emerald. I don't know why, deep cut, but it was there. So we get this big scene with Halsey with the UNSC board, and she's talking about her big plan of Cortana. She's like, it will overwrite Spartan consciousness and replace with artificial general intelligence. Cortana is the next stage in human evolution. The Spartans were the first step. Cortana is the upgrade. And that the Cortana will have the intelligence of the galaxy. So it's more powerful, more intelligent, upgradable, and the keyword here is controllable. And because that's the big concern of the board, is that Master Chief's going against what they ordered him to do last time by protecting Kwan, and this is the way she's really going to take charge of him, and it's showing that bad side of Halsey, this evil plan on Master Chief. I loved seeing Cortana in this crystal ball here. This felt like that Spielberg touch, and we now know that he did oversee every episode a little bit, so, you know, it felt very AI Minority Report. I love that. And to end the episode on Cortana is really exciting too, because it makes you just excited for episode 3, like where it seems like we're going to really lean into that now. And we see Commander Keyes is resistant to this. He says to Halsey, we can't just replace John's mind. He's a person. She said, he's much more than a person. He's a Spartan. So it reminds you a lot of RoboCop. Just this half man, half whatever it is, Spartan robot in RoboCop. It's that very similar kind of story here. And them saying how John has only been trained for one purpose, to fight for us, not supposed to have emotions, but we know that's not the case anymore. And we see it's mentioned in her book, Dr. Halsey, that she said the only way they were to pull off Cortana was illegal practice of flash cloning of humans, which she knows she's doing. And when they said, have you found your way around that, they just totally dodged this question. And the commander can kind of just justify because he's so obsessed with making sure they beat the Covenant. Now, when Liara is talking to Kwan about her wanting justice against Vinsher for what he did to her father and taking away her city, you know, she says this line, revenge and justice are easy to confuse. So, from watching so many shows, I think you can kind of just tell where they're going with Kwan's story, that she's probably going to go too far in her justice for revenge on Vinsher, so we'll see what ends up happening with her. But again, I'm still fascinated with what they'll end up doing with her character, which is good. She's not just some side character with no purpose. Now, I really like the conversation here between Soren and John, and him talking about when he lost the pellet, it's like opening your eyes for the first time after living in the dark. And he's talking about how all this stuff is making him numb to life, John, and that he's been there and he's gotten out of it, that you can get out of it. So I think that's really cool that they're already talking philosophically about the way the Spartans are, and I think it's very intriguing. But that main difference between Soren and Master Chief too is that Soren touches a relic, it doesn't do anything. So this isn't even a Spartan-related kind of power. So this is where Soren suggests to see Wreath, who is a mystic, and we see there's a lot of mystics here in this like refuge center for them. And we know Wreath's been in a Covenant ship before, so that's also contributing to why he's like just nuts. But Wreath says he can't activate a relic because he's not a blessed one. So we learn, you know, Master Chief is a blessed one, like the Blessed One. But we're learning more about that relic, and he's saying stuff like it's a door to end of life as we know it. And of course, this is what the Covenant wants. But he says, Wreath, that the Master Chief is more special than the Blessed One herself. But what's interesting, he says that means you can stop it, destroy the artifact, destroy yourself. So this is where we get that Halo theme playing under. I thought that actually worked. It's a little cheesy, but that's what we want for this show, right? My nerd feelings kicked in there. I was like, okay, here we go. So John's not being smart here. He wants to run to Halsey and the other Spartans. It's like him wanting to run to Mama. But Soren's like, you can't do this. But at the end of the day, he's going to do what he wants, John. But he leaves Kwan with Soren to protect her. But Halsey gets the win here because she gets exactly what she wants. She gets the relic and she gets John. But you see also just visually what they're setting up, where Miranda Keyes sees John when he arrives. You know she's going to be the voice of reason for him, just that important shot of her seeing him up close. And you see Halsey just shuts down John when he's talking about the images he saw when touching the relic about his parents. And she just wants to know what it was about that girl that made him run. And I love the writing here where he's like, I couldn't let her die. She's like, but you have seen so many people die. Why was this any different? And he says, I'm different. I feel connected to something. So again, something with the Blessed One, something with the Covenant, this alien life. Now, like I said, this is when it's cutting between the Blessed One and her having scars as well. And she's like, why'd you come back? And he's like, no one else I can trust. And she's like, you made the right choice. Clearly not. And I love it ends on her saying, we're going to do great things together. And then her opening Cortana. Exciting cliffhanger. This episode was way better to me on second watch. I thought it was just really good for a second episode and doing well with setup. It slowed down, obviously not as much action as the big opening pilot, but that makes sense. And it really was just paving the way to get us into the psyche of Master Chief, what the lore of the Spartans like in this show, and what it's setting up for Cortana, which seems very exciting, and giving us more of an eye of what Halsey is really about. So again, I'm giving this one an 8.7. I think this is really solid. I'm very impressed, again, because I have low expectations. You know, I played Halo growing up, and I love the video games, but I like that they're doing it as a separate universe, so they're not tied to it. And I think people just need to separate that, and they have to make it its own voice, its own show, right? If you sit there thinking you want the story from the games, you're going to be incredibly disappointed. And they have to adjust things for TV, but what they're bringing us, if you take out that connection to it, which fine, I get you're pissed about if it's not exactly what you imagined or not doing enough justice from the original story, I still think that it's a good television show, and that's what's impressed me the most, especially for a TV video game adaptation. You know, how many times can we say that something was solid? I mean, this should have been awful, but it's not. So I'm excited. I think it's only going to go up from here. I hope so, but we'll see. It could totally crash and burn, but I'm liking what I see so far. Giving this an 8.7. Let me know what you guys thought down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I read every comment and try to respond as many as I can. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of my reviews of Halo. I'll be doing every single episode. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.